With Google's parent company Alphabet announcing layoffs on Friday morning, Apple is now the only tech giant that hasn't resorted to mass layoff in recent months as a souring economy looms over Silicon Valley. The combination of rising interest rates and inflation has led to cooling customer demand and shrinking advertising budgets among the big techs. This has led Amazon, Microsoft, and now Google to tighten their belts and cut headcount in recent months. The tech giants were on a hiring spree during the early pandemic years but looking to rein in their spending now. Apple, however, seems to have adopted a different policy. The iPhone maker's slow-paced, measured growth strategy has put it in a better spot to weather a downturn or recession without going the mass layoff way. Between September 2021 and September 2022, the company hired only 10,000 new employees, growing its headcount from 154,000 to 164,000 full-time employees, according to its filings with the SEC. That's well below the tens of thousands that Amazon, Meta, and Google each hired over the same period.
Apple kind of between 2021 September to 2022 September, over a period of 13 months, added only 10,000 employees on a base which is 10 times or even more than that, lower than the base of, say, a Google or, for that matter, Microsoft and Amazon. On the other hand, if you just compare the numbers, the number of hirings done by, by one of these, say the e-commerce giant Amazon, was about 24% on a much larger base.
Apple's business model is also different from most other tech giants. Its primary business is in selling phones, tablets, and PCs, and not in advertising, making it less subject to the whims of the advertising industry. While Apple does own and operate several retail stores around the world, the company's physical footprint is relatively smaller than the massive network of warehouses and logistics hubs one associates with Amazon. It's also noteworthy here that the manufacturing of Apple products is outsourced to third parties. This means that the tech giant doesn't feel the impacts of changes in the smartphone demand cycle immediately. Apple has traditionally focused its investment on projects that are core to the business, as opposed to companies like Google, which has its famed moonshot factory, or Meta, which is currently dreaming in the metaverse. Amazon and Microsoft too have research teams focused on exploring and expanding the company's tech portfolio into newer tech avenues.
See, if we go back to the leadership style of Tim Cook, he comes from supply chain. So he was the chief supply chain officer prior to his movement as a CEO, post Steve Jobs. So coming from supply chain, fundamentally the risk appetite and the way to look at business is different. And that characterizes the leadership style of Tim Cook.
But will Apple's strategies work in the long run, or is this a temporary respite? What can be the challenges in sustaining this strategy for Apple?
Knowing the strategy that Tim Cook follows and his leadership style, this would not be temporary respite. However, they would still be cautious, and their investments, even on the specialized skills, would be also pretty much informed and would take a slow step rather than going gung-ho about it and bringing in big ticket investments. They are definitely going to go hand in hand along with the retail presence in India as well, in addition to their manufacturing or the back-end setup.
But what does Apple's strategies imply for its future in India? Subrat Sarangi, Associate Professor Strategic Marketing and Business Management, MICA, believes that Apple is in fact poised to create more jobs in India.
These could be manufacturing setups where, of course, skill development based on specific skills to produce and, electronic chip manufacturing. So that is one is given on the manufacturing side. However, there are other skills as well, which are required, which are slightly specialized. And that is where probably the key value addition would come from Apple's investment on skill development.
However, D.D. Mishra, Senior Director Analyst at Gartner, stresses that the need to evolve is essential.
Not changing is something, is not a great idea, I would say, at this point in time. Now, you have to balance the caution with the kind of risk which you undertake. And because buying behavior is shifting, consumer behavior is shifting, there are a lot of shifts which we are seeing in the market. And in this, having a kind of a rigid strategy may or may not work at times. So, so the organizations which are holding on to their rigid strategy of not changing things should actually be very careful that about how they are actually going to be disrupted in coming times.
Experts also believe the iPhone maker has remained a cautious player and will continue to be so. However, if it wants to capitalize on India's emerging consumer base, it needs to evolve its strategies in search and AI.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.